Speaker. Okay, so let's begin our class. How many participants are there? 34. Okay. So what is the total strength of your class?
63, sir.
63.
63. Okay. And direct message. Okay. Okay. So during the class, if I ask you a question, all of you, then you can type in your answer. It's not necessary to speak for the answer. You can type in the chat for your answer. Okay. That way I know that you are interactive. And if you have any question, you can still ask. Okay, so let's begin our class. Yesterday we finished up to almost here. This slide is new. I have changed a little bit from the beginning, and then afterwards it's totally different. So make sure you save this slide, and whenever the class is finished, basically the end slide, it would be more preferably saved. The other ones, you can avoid that. So at the end of the class, we'll share the slide, which is the final one. Okay, so start from the muscles of the tongue. Again, quickly revision. So the muscles of the tongue, as we know, there are two types: extrinsic and intrinsic. There were three muscles, right? So there were longitudinal, superior, and inferior. Then there were cross-sectioning, two muscles, vertical, like this, horizontal. Okay, so they were, and above and below were longitudinal, superior above and inferior below. So these were intrinsic muscle, and then in extrinsic muscles, there were plateaus at the top. Then there was stylish S shape, that side styloglosses. Then outer to that was hyoglosses, and inner to that was genioglosses. Okay, so I have cleared this one. So again, the same longitudinal fibers or longitudinal muscles, superficial and inferior. Then there are the function of intrinsic muscle. They alter the shape of the tongue, altering the shape of the tongue. They maintain the shape of the tongue, and these muscles are not attached to any bony attachment, and that's why they are confined to the tongue. They do not reach out to the bones. Here you can see again intrinsic muscles, superior, this is the coronal section, superior longitudinal muscle, inferior longitudinal muscles here, and in between, this is transverse and here is superior longitudinal muscle, need to confirm. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So extrinsic muscles now, these are very important. We know for plateauglossus, genioglossus, hyoglossus, and styloglossus. What is the function? They help in the movements of the tongue. So how they are made is connect the tongue. These extrinsic muscles connect the tongue to the surrounding structures. What are the surrounding structures? The soft palate and the bones. What are those bones? Mandible, hyoid bone, and styloid process. Now, if you look at this styloglossus, so it is attached to the styloid process. You see, this is the styloid process, and it attached. This muscle is attached. So this is styloglossus. Here, this one. And then there is plateauglossus. It plateaus. It elevates the glossus, the tongue. So it should be this, which is attached to the soft palate, plateauglossus. Okay. Remember this muscle. And these are the bones. So in front, this is mandible. Here is hyoid. That's why hyoglossus, styloid process, styloglossus, palatine, soft palate, plateau, and because it is attached to the tongue, plateauglossus. Okay, and towards the median is genioglossus. Function helps in movement of the tongue. Okay, now from here we start the new lecture, today's lecture. So these are some muscles, their origin, their insertion, movement, what movement they perform, and the innervation. Okay, so first we talk about the innervation. So all of you look at this, the genioglossus, styloglossus, and hyoglossus, all of these are supplied by the hypoglossal nerve, right? And platoglossus is towards the anterior, which is attached to the palate, is supplied by the accessory and vagus nerve. So that's how you remember. I want all of you to remember as much as you can in the class, right? So if you put your effort in the class, there will be less effort outside. Okay, so hypoglossal nerve, how we remember that these three muscles, except platoglossus, are supplied by hypoglossal nerve, and then platoglossus is supplied by mainly vagus nerve. Okay, movement, as we have studied yesterday, movement is here. How we remember? Genioglossus on the both sides cause a protrusion of tongue, taking the tongue outside, right? To the midline septum, you know, laterally we have hyoglossus, but medially towards the midline septum we have genioglossus. So that's why it depresses the midline of the tongue. That's how you remember. And then it helps in protruding the tongue. Okay, and then styloglossus draws tongue upward and posteriorly. It retracts. It basically helps in retracts. Platoglossus, you remember, it elevates, it towards plateaus, it goes up, so elevates the root of tongue and also closes oral cavity from pharynx. So you remember it elevates the root of tongue. And then hyo is depressed. So how you remember is genioglossus is towards the midline, so it depresses the midline of the tongue and protrudes the tongue, which takes it back. How to take the back? So when your tongue is outside, it does not look nice. It is by the genioglossus, but now the style is gone, right? So you have to retract your tongue back to look stylish, to look good. So it is done by the styloglossus. Okay, now you remember it draws the tongue back posteriorly and upward, styloglossus. So platoglossus elevates and hyoglossus depresses. Okay, now we see the origin. Let me see, this diagram is good. So now origin of the genioglossus. So genioglossus is origin from the mandible. Okay, let's see. This is the big genioglossus muscle. It's coming from here, and this bone is mandible, right? You cannot go wrong with this. This is mandible. And this all is genioglossus, and it is originating from the mandible. You cannot go wrong with that, right? Okay. Next, it is inserted to the tongue, under surface of hyoid bone. Okay, two insertions. One, so what is origin? Where the muscle takes its origin, which is attached. One is origin and one is insertion. Origin is a fixed point, and insertion is the point which the muscle moves. It when it contracts and relaxes, right? So if you go back, so okay, so genioglossus, origin, mandible, and inserted in the underneath of the tongue. This is the tongue. It's underneath of the tongue, and also towards the hyoid bone. So this is genioglossus, again inserted to the mandible, going towards the underneath of this tongue and also to the hyoid bone. Okay, what is the next one? Styloglossus. Styloglossus, we have an origin, styloid process, very easy. Styloid process, right? And it, because it draws the tongue backwards, posteriorly, and upward, so it also and sides of the tongue. So genioglossus hyoglossus and platoglossus are very easy. Hyoid bone, so origin is from hyoid bone, and plato Palate, it came from the palate, so it is originated from the soft palate, right? And inserted, both are inserted to the side of tongue. So how you remember is these three muscles, same innervation, hypoglossal nerve. What is the exception? Platoglossus is the exception, because it's that at the height, is at the plateau, is the height. He thinks himself of a superior, right? Superior kind. So it takes a different innervation from the vagus nerve. Okay, we know that. Genioglossus takes the tongue out, protrusion. Styloglossus takes it, retracts it back stylishly, styloglossus. Hyoglossus depresses because platoglossus goes up, plateau elevates. So platoglossus elevates the tongue and hyoglossus depresses the tongue. And then genioglossus, we remember it's in the front. So it takes origin from mandible, and styloglossus takes from styloid process. The name suggests styloid process. And hyo also name suggests hyoid bone. Plateau palate is a soft palate, so it takes the origin here. And here there is a common, these two, genio and stylo, they are attached, inserted to the underneath of the tongue, and hyo and plateau to the sides of the tongue. I hope all of you guys have an idea by now. So these are again extrinsic muscles, plateau, stylo. Here these are plateau, this is the coronal section, platoglossus, styloglossus apart here, and then this is genioglossus, major belly, minor belly, and hyoglossus towards the outer side of the genioglossus. Okay, now this again a revision, but let's go quickly. The genio, hyo, stylo is supplied by the hypoglossal nerve. See, it's different. It's same, but it's in red. Okay, do not get confused. Hypoglossal, hypoglossal, hypoglossal. Okay, so genio, hyo, stylo, hypoglossal. Who is exception? Which was at the plateau, at the superior and at the top. He thinks himself something else, so he was at the plateau. So platoglossus does not take innervation from hypoglossus, is different, is vagus nerve. What else takes the innervation from the hypoglossal? Intrinsic muscle, because they think, okay, we are also three longitudinal intrinsic muscle, then there is vertical and transverse. They think, okay, you are also three, we also three, so let's take the hypoglossal nerve. Okay, that's how we remember. That's good. So function you already know, no need to repeat, except intrinsic muscle, where they alters the tongue shape, can cause tongue to shorten, narrow, and curve. So basically, when different people perform different movements, altering the shape of the tongue, here the intrinsic muscle are involved, which are located inside the tongue itself. They remain confined to the tongue, do not go, they don't have any bony attachment. Thank you for this. We have to learn less. So you already know protrusion, retraction, depression, elevation. Okay, you can repeat with in your heart. Okay, repeat in your heart. Protrusion, we know, genioglossus, right? And retraction, to take back with style, styloglossus. Elevates was plateau, and depression was by hyoglossus. Okay, these are the basically main muscle. And if you in Viva, if you name one of the main muscle, that will be more than enough. And intrinsic muscle alter the shape of the tongue. Okay, so now we go to one of my favorite part of the topic, nerve supply. I hate it so much that I began to love it. Okay, we know arterial supply, venous supply, and nerve supply is sometimes a pain in the neck, but if you love it, it will be easier for you to remember. How to remember this is very easy. We already know the anterior two-third has lingual papilla. It is lingua. It is the major part of the tongue, anterior two-third. So it should be supplied by the lingual nerve for the general sensation. Very easy. Lingual nerve, right? What are the general sensation? What do you think? What are the general sensation? Type. Can you type what are the general sensation and special sensations? What is the difference between general sensation and special sensations? I can't see any message. Just, it's okay to be wrong. Just answer something. What are general sensations? What are sensations? Touch, temperature, right? So how you can touch tongue, General pain, yes, pain, touch, very good, Irfan. Okay, go on. So, in the case of tongue, how would you, yes, special taste, excellent. So, how, in the case of tongue, how would you recognize these? For example, you are eating food, then you eat, when you take a bolus of food in your mouth, there is food in your mouth, the tongue can touch the food and know. So this is done by general sense. This is one of the general sensation and is lingual. One of the important general sensation is temperature. Your mouth, or especially your tongue, can sense this food is hot to spit. If it's too hot, it'll spit the food. If it's too cold, it will reject the food. Please let it let the food warm, heat it some, so it makes more palatable, right? So it comes under the general sensation. Okay, and what is special sensation? As Irfan also told us, it's the taste. Yes, taste is one of the special sensation, so also known as gustatory sensation. Okay, so general sensation, of course, is the tongue, so it should be supplied by the lingual nerve. No surprise in that. And then we have to remember only this: the special sensation of the anterior two-thirds of the tongue is supplied by the chorda tympani. Okay, how to remember this? Okay, so V3. What is V3 or 5-3? Chat. Come on. What is this? Lingual nerve. This came from this V3. What is V3? This is a cranial nerve. Yes, exactly. So this is the mandibular branch of the trigeminal nerve. Exactly. You have to answer full. Okay. So lingual nerve. This is yes, good. So this controls the general sensation, and then chorda tympani from the seventh cranial nerve is responsible for the taste. Okay. So anterior to that, after anterior to that, we have a posterior one-third. Thanks to them, thanks to this nerve, basically the general and special sensation in the posterior one-third of the tongue is by glossopharyngeal nerve. Thank you, glossopharyngeal nerve. You don't have to remember extra. And the base, this base of the tongue, the general and special sensation is who is responsible? Internal laryngeal nerve. How to remember? It's very deep inside, it's internally present, and it's close to the larynx. So internal laryngeal nerve, that's how you remember the general and the special sensation at the base of the tongue is who is responsible? Internal laryngeal nerve. Okay, I hope we can move on. If I use this, okay, now after knowing the general and special sensations from the tongue, it's time to know the taste pathway or gustatory pathway, right? We already know the three nerves: the facial nerve and trigeminal nerve. Why not trigeminal nerve here? Why only facial nerve here? We just studied how to say, we also studied trigeminal here. Here there is trigeminal nerve, lingual nerve, this lingual nerve, trigeminal nerve. So why it is not mentioned here? Why it is not mentioned here? Answer. Yes, because it's the gustatory pathways. We are talking about the gustatory pathways, a special pathway. So we are just focused on the nerves which carry the special sensation, excuse me, which is the taste here, by the way. So facial nerve, okay, someone mic. Facial nerve, and then glossopharyngeal nerve, posterior one-third, and then there is vagus nerve to the base of the tongue. Okay, Abbas, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the straight path, right? So now we go for the video. Just remember facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and vagus nerve, our favorite. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Perfect. Should I start quickly? Should I start a video? Can everyone see? Should I start the video? Okay, perfect, perfect. Let's start. Okay, let's start.
Tongue is covered with many little bumps, which are sometimes mistakenly called taste buds. These small lumps of tissue, however, are known as papillae. Taste buds are found in the walls of papillae and the grooves surrounding them.
Okay, excuse me. Actually, we are going from the tongue. Let me just intro this very quickly. We are going from the tongue, taking the taste sensation from the tongue's papilla to the cortex. Okay, so this is the taste pathway, the neural pathway, how the taste sensation, the special sensation are carried from the tongue, from the beginning to the end, to the cortex. Okay.
Tongue is covered with many little bumps, which are sometimes mistakenly called taste buds. These small lumps of tissue, however, are known as papillae. Taste buds are found in the walls of papillae and the grooves surrounding them. Each taste bud contains anywhere from 50 to 150 taste receptor cells. Extending from these cells are fine microvilli, sometimes called taste hairs or gustatory hairs, which protrude through an opening called the taste pore into the mouth. These microvilli come in contact with substances in the mouth that can be tasted, also known as tastins. Tastins interact with taste receptor cells through a number of different mechanisms to depolarize the cells. When taste cells are depolarized, they release neurotransmitters that stimulate sensory neurons that travel in cranial nerves 7, 9, and 10. These neurons terminate on neurons in the nucleus of the solitary tract in the medulla. From there, taste information is sent to the thalamus. Then, taste information is sent to the gustatory cortex, which is a region of the cerebral cortex found along the border between the anterior insula and a structure called the frontal operculum. The gustatory cortex allows us to consciously discriminate different taste stimuli. The taste information sent along these pathways is thought to encode for basic tastes, such as sweet, salty, sour, bitter, and savory or umami. Whether there are others is still being debated. However, the actual flavor of a food, which is what we typically define as taste, is created by a combination of taste and olfactory information.
Okay, perfect. So this is very important pathway. You should all know. I don't know if you have previously attended or not. Okay, let me just explain. So this is the tongue. This is the tongue, and then tongue has papilla. You already know fungiform, filiform, circumvallate, and foliate, right? These papilla, remember yesterday we studied that these papilla had some taste buds. In the interstices spaces of papilla, we have spaces, and spaces had taste buds. Now, if we go to the taste histology of the taste buds, we know that taste buds look like this under a microscope. On the one end, towards the slit-like space or the space, we have gustatory hairs, then we have gustatory cells along with supporting cells, and then we have nerve endings, and these nerve endings collect to form a nerve bundle. And then when the taste fibers, taste hairs sense some taste, they let the taste cells know. Every taste cell is responsible for different type of taste, like sweet, sour, bitter. And then these nerves are collected here. So these nerves at different places of the tongue are responsible for different nerves, different cranial nerves are responsible at the different places on the tongue, as we know cranial nerve number 7, 9, and 10, right? And then these nerves from 3, these why 3 are shown, because one is 7, one is 9, and one is 10 cranial nerve, so that you remember there were 3, and then they reach at the nucleus, which is known as nucleus of the solitary tract. From the solitary tract, they go here. They go here, which is this place, thalamus. Remember, so papilla, taste buds, collection of nerves to the nucleus of solitary tract, from the nucleus of solitary tract to thalamus, and from thalamus to gustatory center or gustatory cortex, which is present at the anterior insula. This is anterior insula, as you remember from the radiology lectures. Yes. And then what are the tastes they can detect? Sweet, salt, sweet from the carbs, carbohydrates, salt, and then there is sour, there is bitter, and then there is savory or umami. Remember, there was a central place in the tongue, umami. Which taste they can detect? They have relatively less differentiated papilla, and but they can differentiate a taste. They can, which is savory. You know what is savory? Other, you can say delicious. Like for example, proteins, steak, right? The protein part of the egg, right? So when they break down, they form amino acids, and this umami scent, they can sense special sensation of the savory type of the amino acid or proteins. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so now you can you see all of you the slide? So this is the gustatory pathway. Okay, we have a chat here. Okay, I hope you can see. So taste pathway, the video is finished. So here we have facial nerve number 7, nerve number 9, nerve number 10, facial, glossopharyngeal, vagus to the nucleus of this solitary nucleus, and then we go axon from the solitary nucleus up to the thalamus, and thalamus to the gustatory center or gustatory cortex in the anterior insula. Okay, so let's quickly revise what we studied in this class. There were muscle extrinsic, intrinsic, 3 intrinsic, 4 extrinsic. Extrinsic, there was a exception for platoglossus because it was taking the innervation from the vagus nerve. All of the 3 were taken from the hypoglossal nerve. And what else was taken from the hypoglossal nerve? Intrinsic muscle, the innervation. The intrinsic muscle innervates from the hypoglossal nerve. There was the movement, protrusion, retraction, depression, elevation, and intrinsic muscle which control the shape. And then we had nerve supply. Anterior to third, the nerve supply was lingual nerve and chorda tympani, lingual for the general sensation, chorda tympani for the special sensation. Posterior was glossopharyngeal, thank you, and base of the tongue was internal laryngeal nerve. This was the gustatory pathway. We saw the taste pathway. Here is the motor. For the motor, as you already know, these muscles are responsible for the movement of the tongue. These genioglossus, hyoglossus, styloglossus, and platoglossus. So they are responsible for the movement of the tongue, and they are supplied by the hypoglossal nerve, except platoglossus, which is supplied by the biggest nerve, and intrinsic muscle also supplied by the big low hypoglossal nerve. A quick revision to the nerve supply of the tongue. Here is a very good diagram for the nerve supply of the tongue. Miraj Abid, are you here? Yes, Miraj Abid. Okay. So
ये तो अभी प्रोफेसर बना है, ये प्रोफेसर था नहीं। ये सारे जो मतलब हमारे सीनियर थे एमबीबीएस करके हैं, उन्हीं में से एक लड़का है जो पढ़ा रहा है। तो वहीं पे उसने अप्लाई किया, कहीं टीचर लग गया। इनका टेस्ट पास किया है इसने। इनका टेस्ट चाइनीज में होता है, चाइनीज में इस बंदे ने पास किया है। फिर जाके आप इसकी चाइनीज बहुत आला है, बहुत ही ज्यादा आला है।
Miraj Abid, I think he is present. Okay. Okay. Noman Razi, roll number 27.
Present.
Okay. So I have to ask you a question. I need to present. I know you're okay. Good, you're present. So can you tell me which one of these, lingual nerve or for chorda tympani, are for the special sensation?
Lingual for the special.
Lingual nerve.
Lingual nerve is for special sensation? No,
Yes,
sir. So chorda tympani, okay, what is special sensation?
Sir, don't really know.
Sorry, can you repeat your answer?
So I don't really know what is special
Okay.
sensation.
Okay, special sensation. Okay, so the tongue has two sensations, the general sensation and the special sensation, right? So general sensation include touch, for example, of the food, the taste, the temperature of the food, and the special sensation includes the taste. How you taste the food is actually special sensation, and it is carried by lingual nerve or chorda tympani. Noman. Okay, let's move. Blood supply of the tongue. Let's go to the blood supply of the tongue. Okay. So as you can see here, red are the lingual arteries, and red are the arteries, and blue are the veins. Okay. So lingual artery. So the tongue, the arterial supply includes the lingual artery and the tonsillar artery and ascending pharyngeal artery. How to remember this? You know, blood supply, you go arteries, we are talking about the tongue. So the tongue, Greek, lingua, so it means lingual artery. So that's how you remember. So one is lingual artery. Okay, we remember because it's tongue, right? Tongue, the other name of tongue is lingual. So lingual artery. Second one is tonsillar artery. You know, posterior to this tongue, we have tonsils, right? That's how you remember tonsillar artery. And then because it's the ascending part, the superior part of the pharynx, the ascending part, so there will be also have ascending pharyngeal artery. So how to remember the blood supply of tongue? The lingual artery, the tonsillar artery, ascending pharyngeal artery. You need to remember this for the exam. These blood supplies, nerve supplies, because all the clinical scenarios, the diseases are, some of the diseases are based on the supply. When there's an accident or the nerve paralysis is there, muscle paralysis is there. So that's how you know, that's why you need to know the blood supply and nerve supply. Okay, vein is very easy, lingual vein. Okay, now let's read. Lingual artery, branch of the external carotid artery. Lingual artery is the branch of external carotid artery. It supplies most of the tongue. So the main supply of the tongue, lingual, so lingual artery. The main supply of the tongue will be lingual artery. What's the remaining? Tonsillar artery and ascending pharyngeal artery. So tonsillar artery, as we know, is the branch of the facial artery, and ascending pharyngeal artery is the branch of the external carotid artery. So here is the external carotid artery. Let's annotate that. External carotid artery, right? And then we have a facial artery. This, let's trace it back. This. So one of the branch of external carotid artery is the facial artery. Do we have, okay, we don't have that. So from the facial artery there, and the other one is, this is sublingual artery, right? Sublingual artery and deep lingual artery. Yesterday we have seen there was a frenulum, and then there were deep lingual arteries. So deep lingual artery, sublingual arteries from this, and then there are dorsal lingual artery, but the important are lingual artery, tonsillar artery, and ascending pharyngeal artery. These three names are must for the arterial part of the arterial supply of the tongue. Now vein is very easy. All the veins from the tongue gather into the lingual vein. Like the lingual artery supplies the major part of the tongue, lingual vein takes a majority of the blood back into the internal jugular vein. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So if anyone wants to remember this arterial supply, this is an extended version of arterial supply. So this is why this is important, because a lot of important arteries are here. For example, external carotid artery. So external carotid artery has three parts which supplies the tongue: lingual, facial, maxillary, and then there is mandibular part. Lingual, we have known that it is the main majority of the arterial supply of the tongue is by the lingual artery, and it has four divisions: suprahyoid, dorsal lingual, sublingual, deep lingual. So the good thing is there is lingual, dorsal, sub, deep. So it's easy to remember that this is lingual artery, and lingual means tongue, so it supplies the tongue. Supra, soft palate, sublingual salivary glands, those salivary glands which are present sublingually, because there is a sublingual and deep lingual artery, so it must supply the sublingual salivary glands, and the muscle attached to hyoid, because there is suprahyoid lingual artery. Easy. Next we go to the facial artery. The facial is towards the face, but we are focused towards the tongue. So there will be palatine, there will be tonsillar, submental, glandular. Special here also there were sublingual glands, sublingual salivary glands. So this one also has glandular branch. Superior labial, inferior labial. What do you mean by labial? Lips. So we know from the superior and inferior labial that it supplies the lips, right? And then there are tonsillar towards the palatine tonsil. There is palatine tonsils, and then there is root of tongue. So it's tonsillar artery, right? Okay, now we go to the third part of this arterial supply of the tongue, which comes from the external carotid, is maxillary part. And maxillary part is still divided here. There is mental part, there is muscular part, there is pterygopalatine part. So mandibular part, as you know above, there is superiorly there is maxilla, and inferiorly there is mandible. So inferior alveolar part, where the teeth are attached to the mandible. So there is mandibular part. So it's because the teeth, these are the lower teeth. So how do you remember is these are the lower teeth. They supply the cheek. And mylohyoid. Who remember mylohyoid muscle? Can anyone tell? Let me ask someone. Do not answer first. Let's go for a random attendance and asking question. How to remove this? Bye. Okay. Muhammad Harun Aslam, roll number 022. Do you remember mylohyoid muscle? Zero 027. Where is 027? Okay, I got his roll number 27. Roll number 27. Uzair Khalid. Who is roll number 27? Can you name him, please?
So 27 is Noman Shahid.
Oh no, sorry, 22. Oh, sorry, 22. Sorry,
I'm 27, sir.
22 is
Okay. 22. Harun Aslam, are you here? Are you in the class? Harun Aslam, are you in the class? Roll number 22. Okay. So the class got serious, huh? Okay. Saad Azmat, roll number 014. Are you in the class? Can you answer? Do you remember mylohyoid muscle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the tongue resides, the anterior two tongues resides on the mylohyoid muscle in the floor of the mouth. Okay. Number 14 is present. Okay. So let's move forward. So there was a muscular part. There was a masseter. There is a muscle masseter, masseteric part, which is masseteric artery, and deep temporal to the temporalis. This is the muscle. Now we go to the pterygopalatine part. There is descending palatine, posterior, superior alveolar, and then infraorbital. So infraorbital, there are the upper teeth of the maxilla, so it supplies to that. And then descending palatine, so you just remember palatine, and then there is hard palate, soft palate, and palatine tonsil. These are supplied by this. It's good to remember, but if you can't remember all of them, it's okay, but you have to remember the important. Why these have lingual, and they supply the sublingual salivary glands, and these glands are here, and then palate, lower teeth, upper teeth are here.